Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Lorene Tanaka. We are here with Captain Terry Seelig with the Honolulu Fire Department. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for asking us again.
Well, it's something that we need to keep reminding the public about, and that is cooking. Cooking is the leading cause of home fires and home fire injuries. So we need to be focused on what we're doing and aware of what we need to do to prevent any cooking fires, right?
Absolutely. You're right. The leading cause of fires in the home is from cooking. It's actually the theme of this year's National Fire Protection Association campaign, fire safety campaign, Prevent Cooking Fires. And it's true in Honolulu or in Hawaii as well, that unattended cooking or improper cooking or fires that start in the kitchen are the leading cause of residential fires.
Wow, and what are the types of cooking fires that we're looking at? I mean, especially now, sometimes during the holidays or whenever we have family gatherings, we tend to cook bigger pots or bigger quantities.
Right, it's common in the holiday period for more cooking to be done and also for people to become more distracted by other surrounding activities and maybe even be a little more tired than normal. And all are real important elements to preventing cooking fires. So in the kitchen, obviously the stovetop, the oven, appliances that are used that generate heat, electric skillets, even the microwave can be potential sources of cooking fire through their malfunction or even misuse. Most commonly, we seem to see unattended cooking as a source of fire. Fortunately, with smoke alarms and people paying attention, those fires are often called in and we get to them before they get what we call out of the container being the pot.
The pot or whatever.
Yes, and you don't want a fire to grow from the container of origin into the next container, which is really the room.
Spread.
Right.
It starts to spread.
Once you get out of the container into the kitchen, you're looking at a significant fire, at least for that household. It may not destroy much else of the household unless it gets out of the kitchen, but taking the kitchen out of service is really an impact on that household's ability to enjoy their home.
Absolutely. Now, what are some simple tips just with cooking on the stove? So you have a pot or a frying pan. Should we be concerned about the type of clothing that we're wearing while we're cooking?
Well, yes, absolutely. Your clothing can become an impediment to your cooking in that it can get in the way as you move and cause you to pull a pot handle.
So if you have a long sleeve that's hanging down or a flowing sleeve, or
even if it doesn't happen, you can stain it and with the food. You can also get it too close to the heat source, the burner or open flame, depending on what you're using, and it can catch fire, which can be tragic. But more importantly, it's more of the focus on the activity. Of course, the tire is important, but the focus on the activity is what is key. One should never leave the cooking unattended, meaning even leave the room.
Not second.
Well, that's hard to really juggle and manage, but depending on the phase of cooking that you're doing, if you're on high heat or you're, stir frying or have something on broil, absolutely shouldn't leave the room. If it's on a low simmer, well, that's going to take a while. You shouldn't ignore it and check on it, but never leave the home, even when a pot's on the lowest heat. But attending to your cooking means remembering what you're doing and how to do it and having knowledge of proper cooking techniques. One thing that commonly occurs is people overheating oil or putting in food that has a lot of moisture in it into hot oil, causing the oil to spatter because of the water content in the food.
Right. And so much, like you said, we get distracted. So if you have something on the stove that's of high heat, or it's going to burn quickly if you're not attending to it, and all of a sudden you get called away. So like you have a toddler, and all of a sudden something happens, and you need to walk away. Is the best thing to turn it off? If
you're not going to be there to supervise the cooking, to attend to the cooking, then yes, you should turn off the heat, move the pot off the burner. If you don't know that you can come back within a period of time. Like,
Because if
say
you
the
don't move the
doorbell rings.
pot, then the burner is still
Absolutely.
hot. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Wow. What about people that have long hair and you're cooking?
Well, that can be a hazard if it's too close to the heat. Because
your hair could catch on fire?
Yes, it could. So you have to be aware of the length of your hair and what you're using to heat up the food. Hair will burn very quickly and extremely dangerous to have your hair catch fire. You can pull it back,
Yes.
secure it, put it in a net even. I know restaurants, they have to have hair nets, but that's more for sanitation reasons as well as safety.
Safety too, right?
Yeah, but yeah, hair burns real quickly, so you have to be very careful around open flames or sources of heat with your hair.
Now, very often we like to, some families like to do a big emu in the backyard.
Emu.
Tell us,
Good
I know,
food.
good food, but tell us what are some things that they should be aware of, either preparing the emu or taking the food out.
Yeah, well, building an emu is not something that is difficult to do, but it does take knowledge.
Okay.
And getting the right place to put an emu is real important.
Okay.
Of course, it has to be on your property, but you have to do it in a location where it's not going to present a hazard to either a structure or other combustibles nearby, but it's also not going to really present an inconvenience and an annoyance of the smoke to other people.
Oh, right. See, I didn't
You
think
have
of the
to be
smoke.
considerate and think in terms of, okay, I'm building an emu fire, which is in the pit, you're heating up rocks that are later going to be used, and then you're putting the food in and covering it, and later when you take it out, there's a lot of heat but no fire at that point, but there's going to be a lot of smoke. So you have smoke at two times when you're heating up the rocks for the emu and then later when you uncover it. You have to be aware of the impact to your neighbors. So yeah, placement is important. Having a knowledge of how to start the fire, never ever use flammable liquids. You know, maybe there's a need to because of the weather, but you got to be very careful that if you're using any kind of accelerant to start a fire, that you're not pouring the accelerant on the fire when it's smoldering, because that can be disastrous.
It'll just burst. Will it burst into flames?
Can flash into a fire and extend rapidly. So yes, but using the proper ignition and amount of wood and making sure that that fire does not leave the area, the pit, and extend to something close by. So move things away, have it
Or you
far
want to have
away.
enough surrounding, clearance, right? Clearance around there. So.
Right. So you have to really plan an emu. You have to know where to put it, how to make the pit, what type of rocks to use, what type of fuel to use, how to cook the food properly, and how to process the food once it's come out. But as far as the fire, you do have to locate it in an area that's safe and is courteous, and then you have to attend the emu. You can't just, again, leave it, you know, and
take
come
off in your
back.
car.
No, should never do that.
Okay, so a process of when the food is all done and taken out, now
best
making
part.
sure that the fire is out. The best part of eating.
That's right. The fire will pretty much be, there won't be any flames at that point, but the rocks will still be hot. It'll still be somewhat of a hazard that you wouldn't want to leave unattended and properly take care of so that somebody couldn't accidentally hurt themselves, or a hot rock be too close to something combustible. It could be dry grass, it could be cardboard. Important point. All emu fires have to be called in to our fire dispatch center. And in fact, that's true statewide, every county. It's part of the open burn regulations that allow certain types of open fires, and cooking fires are one of them. We don't ask people to notify us for every single small little hibachi, but definitely emus, because of the smoke and people's observation of that might cause them to think that a house is on fire. We'll still check it out, but if we know that there's an emu in that area, that's going to help us a lot, as well as
To locate.
it's a requirement. So call our dispatch number, which has recently changed, and the new number is 723-FIRE.
Okay.
Which is
That's easy to remember,
723
okay.
73. Well, we'll have to work that way.
Fire.
Yeah, 7235.
But that's so. Then all a person needs to do is just call you and say, "I just want to let you know that we just built an emu in our backyard." And
well, we're planning on lighting an emu at this time and location.
Oh, because you need to know when they're going to light it.
Yes, right.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Because that's when the most smoke is going to be produced.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and our dispatchers receive calls for emus every day, pretty much, at least one or two, because there's commercial operators that make emu for, luau and for sale, right. But during the Thanksgiving holiday, we see a tremendous increase in emus because gatherings, people,
That's
groups.
true.
Yeah, we go from maybe on average, I looked at it last year, maybe about 6 to 12 on an average a day, and that kind of fluctuates because graduations are popular times, baby luau is
Family
popular.
gatherings, any kind of.
But Thanksgiving, the Tuesday, Wednesday, then the Thursday, and even the Friday, it really accelerates. So by Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it's probably the most number of emu, the greatest number of emu, and it goes up to several hundred. Across the island.
Just on the island?
Just on this island. I'm pretty sure it'd be the same statewide, yeah.
So it's not, okay, so we've just got a couple more minutes in this segment, but just not that, but we also do a lot of deep frying where they have big, pots of hot oil.
Right.
Really quickly, tell us how we can be safe with that.
Okay. One thing that's popular is a turkey fryer.
Yes.
But the principle of frying in oil is still the same. You have to know how much oil to put in the container, the type of oil, because each oil has a different flammable range, a different flash point, a different point at which it will start smoking. So using the right oil is important for the taste of the food, but also for the safety. You can't overheat your oil safely, so you have to make sure that you have the right size container, the right amount of oil, heat it to the right temperature, and then use the right technique in putting the food into that oil. You don't just throw it in there. And also, it goes without saying, of course, most turkey fryers are not meant to be used indoors. There are some that are marketed to be used indoors, but you have to read the instructions carefully, make sure that you observe all their safety precautions, but I would just use them outside.
Just err on the side of safety.
And not under cover where if there was a fire it would extend. Do it outside on the patio.
Right. You want to keep your family safe.